fellas, I'm getting married.
It's gonna be just like old times. Only better, right?
Better.
Hollywood has come a-calling. They want to make unfinished business into a movie.
Our carefree college days on full display. I love it.
That book caused a lot of drama.
Get your popcorn ready.
So I'm here with one of my favorite directors, Malcolm, and writers, Malcolm Lee. And I don't know, man. I feel like we've grown up with this series, and for this to be the final chapter, like how much of a cheat code is it for you to be able to do it in a series, to be able to like stretch it out into is it 8 or 10 episodes? Like, is it 10 episodes?
8 episodes.
8 episodes. So for you to stretch it out to all 8 episodes, to be able to tell almost an 8-hour story, so to speak, with this, like how much of a cheat code is that? Most people don't get to wrap up their story like that, you know?
No, it's true. I mean, look, I guess it is a cheat code to a degree, right? Like, you know, the idea was I was gonna do a feature after Best Man Holiday, right? I'd written one, we were getting geared up to do it, but we couldn't agree on the budget level. We couldn't agree, you know, we couldn't get the cast schedules together. So I was like, well, there was that movie. Then I had another one in my mind about how to wrap the series up. But then, you know, as time goes on and you start to see like, oh, like there's streaming services and there's limited series. And like, this would be a good, you know, segue to do it like that. Cause, you know, it gets harder and harder to make movies for the, you know, for theatrical. Even before the pandemic, this was a problem. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, this might be a good way to kind of wrap this up and also give ourselves a good budget. And tell the story. I had just, you know, signed a deal with Universal Television. I said, well, maybe we can make this happen. So yeah, I mean, it's an opportunity to be expansive in our storytelling and you know, delve more deeper into the characters and their arcs and things like that, and stretch it over an 8 episode series rather than this, you know, a movie or 2 movies.
Girl, I am already naked on the beach. I swear, I can't wait for Q's wedding. Every day, you know, it's just the same thing. Cooking, cleaning, prospective student interviews, tours. I mean, needs a change of scenery. We barely made it here tonight. Where's Julian? Circling the block shamelessly, looking for a parking spot. Oh, Harper has some good news. They're making unfinished business into a movie. Oh, wow, the Bumper G one?
No, my first novel.
Oh. Oh.
What?
No, that's cool. I'm just saying, I'm glad that no one was around chronicling my college exploits.
Like when you were a stripper?
You know, remember I told you that was a very small part of Mommy's undergraduate experience.
What's a stripper? I'll explain later.
I mean, I feel like I've known, you know, this series intimately, but I definitely feel like I've got to know the characters a little bit more thoroughly. And I've only got through episode 4. I haven't been able to complete the series yet. I got it last night, so I've been binged the first 4, and I'll probably get to the rest of them today.
Are you leaning forward, Jamal, as you're watching?
Yeah, I was into it.
All right, good.
It was everything that I think the best of television it can be, which brings me to my next question. Like, I mean, you've been known for all these features, but I know, I mean, that you're an accomplished writer. How different was it to switch modes and to be able to write it in television format, so to speak, as opposed to just the limited 120, 130, how many pages you would do for a feature?
Yeah, you know, it was a different process, you know, because you got, you know, a writing staff and, you know, we assign writers to, you know, we break story together and you know, this character's gonna do this, this character's gonna do that. Let's make sure that we end Act 5 like this or do Act 3 like this and da 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 da. And so that was a new process for me. But you know, and I remember, you know, it's an interesting story. I remember Shonda Rhimes reading something that Shonda Rhimes said about, you know, yeah, I can rewrite a script in like a night. I was like, how could she possibly do that? But I understood after the foundation is laid and you know the characters. Like I know the characters very, very well, what they would say, how they would say it. So rewriting something like that was not difficult. You know, it felt like, you know, I can't say easy, but it was something that I was comfortable doing as opposed to like, you know, a movie where you're just like, God, I've spent days pacing. How am I going to tell this story? How am I going to break this scene? Da 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 da. But when you have a team, different process, and it's very, very helpful to do so in television. So like that's the process of TV. So there are so many more people involved.
Real Housewives of Westchester and star of her upcoming reality series, The Notorious She-L-B. Please welcome the fabulous Shelby Taylor. You look great, Shelby. How you been?
Thank you. I've been great. I mean, new show, new Notorious products. I'm really excited.
Right. Well, before we get to all that, we've had an overwhelming response from fans who all have one thing on their mind. You know what it is?
What is it?
It is Quentin Spivey, a major businessman from a major family. He's a major playboy. More importantly, he's your college buddy. He's getting married.
Is there a question?
How do you feel about it?
Well, Andy, as you...
Shelby.
You are terrible. As you noted, Quentin is a dear friend. I mean, I'm happy for him.
Are you? I mean, some people seem to think there's more to that relationship than you're letting on.
What people? I mean, where would anyone get such a thing?
Well, earlier in the season when the news broke, you seemed pretty upset. Let me remind you. Watch.
Well, everybody, talks about you as a director, but I mean, you're a great writer also. And just as the aspiring filmmakers that's watching this, including me, how did you get through that first script? How did you get from the procrastination of just doing 5 pages of the idea or keep changing the idea? When you finally completed your first script, like what was it that helped you that got you through the barrier?
You want to know what it is? You know what happened actually? My first screenplay I wrote when I was in college, right? And when I finished it, it gained me entry to this screenwriting fellowship at Disney. I actually broke my ankle. And I was trying to write before I broke my ankle, but once I broke my ankle, I had no choice but to sit down and write that thing. That's real talk. That's a God's honest truth. And since then I've not had to break any ankles, but you just have to go through the process. The writing process is just a long, arduous process, but it doesn't have to be. You have to give yourself time. You have to be patient. You have to do a lot of pre-work. You can't just write the screenplay. You gotta okay, who are these characters? What do they do? How do they tick? What makes them do such and such? How will they react in this situation? How will they react in that situation? Every single character. And you got to give them obstacles. You got to tell what the story you're trying to tell. It's got to have the inciting incident, and it's got to have the denouement and the second act crisis and all these kinds of things that that are just tried and true in storytelling in cinema. And so with Best Man, that was a screenplay that I was very deliberate on. I said, I'm going to sell this screenplay. I wasn't even intending to direct it. I was intending to write it so I could sell it so I could make another movie. So this is so once, and when I was very intentional about doing it, right? It was okay, 3-act structure. It's going to take place over three days because it's a weekend. Friends are coming in. It's going to be a magic prop. This book's going to keep passing around. There's some information about that in that book that's going to get the best man in trouble. But there's also some sexual tension between he and another one. So there's a lot of stuff that I wanted to play with, but I also knew it had to be a contained thing.
Yeah. Ah, Mr. Sullivan. Smartly and appropriately dressed for dinner.
Well, glad I'm passing the muster.
With flying colors.
So is this what you were talking about?
Yes, well, that is a sight. We can take credit for some enhancements, but the rest is God's work.
Amen. Amen. And my wife, she would have loved this.
Of that I have little doubt, Mr. Sullivan.
Call me Lance. I mean, no, you don't have to, but look, I know you're just being respectful. It's too formal. I'm just Lance.
Dinner is starting shortly, Mr. Lance.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't think anybody has ever really delved into this part. And women will probably have a similar thought structure. But I was looking at this and thinking, like, how did Malcolm get all these bad women? I mean, this is like, you got like the top 10 of our generation's like fantasy women, like all in this. When you, I mean, you talk about Sanaa, and it's a whole, you know, fan base for that. You talk about Nia Long, Melissa, and I mean, Regina Hall. Like, how did you get all, and Monica Calhoun, I can't forget, how did you get all these bad women together into this cast to be in this thing? Because I mean, I look at it and it's just amazing to look at.
You know, I tell you, they're not just beautiful, but they're very, very, very talented people. And you know, the good thing was when they got the best, the acting community was very enthusiastic about The Best Man and getting that script, because here were 8 juicy parts, and 9 if you can include Candy with Regina, 9 juicy parts, you know, of you know, actors that get to play real characters with real layers, you know. And so I think that was a big part of what attracted them to the project. This was going to get made in Hollywood in a studio system. So, you know, we got, you know, some of the best actors in the business, you know, to come out and audition and meet on it. So very, very fortunate, and that they all have longevity in this business also. I mean, you know, who'd have thought that, like, Regina Hall, like, I know she didn't think back in the day, like, oh, I'm gonna like have this amazing career. I mean, she just has an amazing career. She was like she was an unknown. Sanaa was very little known. Nia Long had already been very well established. You know, Melissa DeSosa had done, you know, some character things here and there, but, like, you know, here's an opportunity to play, sink her teeth into some real, you know, characters, and all the dudes too.
Okay, gentlemen.
I love the project. Thanks for the time, Malcolm. I'm always a fan of all your work, so just keep on doing it. I can't wait till everybody gets to dig into this. This is going to be the best thing on television. This is Game of Thrones with Black people right here. You're into it and loving it, and you did a great job, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.